Good evening. Welcome to the Georgetown County Planning Commission for Georgetown County. We do have a quorum present. Is there any public input period at this time, Ms. Katrina?
There's a Vincent Davis.
Let me remind you that you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Planning Commission.
Good evening.
Chairman Davis and others. My name is Vincent Davis, and I'm the president of the Pawleys Island Civic Club. Our agenda is stated as followed. For 6 years, the Civic Club has been one of the leading organizations on the walkable neck to address the drainage and infrastructure. This leading resilience prompted Georgetown County to hire Thomas and Hutton to a tune of $1.5 million to do research of drainage and infrastructure. The facts of that finding stated that Parkersville and Pawleys Island needed its own special drainage plan put in place. The Civic Club knows that this drainage plan has not been completed or finished. And with that, we recommend to Planning Commission that all major development stops in Pawleys Island until this plan is completed and done. The Civic Club, as we continue to meet and organize, will continue to show up to protect the citizens and the community that we love and live. Thank you. I rest the rest of my time.
Thank you. Anyone else, Ms. Katrina?
Yes, Crystal Grant.
Mr. Grant?
Hello, my name is Crystal Grant. I'm not here to talk on one particular item that's on the agenda, but I live in District 5, and I'm against all this housing development. The wildlife will have anywhere to go. There are no good paying jobs in our area. And also the local people cannot afford these new homes that they're building. With all this development, our taxes are going to be going out through the roof. Everyone that lives around these developments need to go ahead and purchase some flood insurance, because the water in their area will need to go somewhere, and it's going to be coming in your area. I know we got different areas in here, but we all one big family in Georgetown County, and I feel that this development, all these housing development is not for us. It's for whoever they want to build it for. So, last time we had a meeting, our District 5 representatives said nobody came up and talked. So I'm here to let everyone know that I hope we all stick together and try to slow up this development or get it under control. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Next item on the agenda is rezoning. And we do have a request from Dan Stacy, agents for Georgetown Memorial Hospital to rezone the Weehawken Plantation Plan Development tract to flexible design district FDD. The purpose of this request is to create planned residential neighborhood compromise of single-family home sites and associated amenities. The property is located on the corner of Highway 701 and Wedgefield Road. However, Mr. Stacy is requesting to defer this item at this time. So we need to have a motion to that effect that Mr. Stacy wants to request to defer.
I'll move to defer the Weehall request.
Have a second by Ms. Hamby.
I'd like to amend that motion.
All right, sir.
If I was kind of Ms. Hamby beat me to it.
Okay.
May I amend that motion?
You may.
Thank you. Considering the public's justified concern over the relatively recent and forecasted future drastic increase in population in our county and the resulting effect on traffic and traffic safety, Further, considering the upcoming Unified Development Ordinance and its effect on future growth expectations, I would ask that the Planning Commission recommend to County Council the following: that County Council schedule a joint meeting in Columbia with the Georgetown County Legislative Delegation and the South Carolina Department of Transportation to demand on behalf of the citizens of Georgetown County immediate attention to traffic in Georgetown County on the state roads and the plans to deal with this issue. We further recommend and request that County Council submit a report to the public on the results of this meeting and the future plans as stated by SCDOT, so that going forward, a well-defined plan can be considered by the Planning Commission to proceed and to the public to consider, and for the public to consider. And I recommend that we approve Mr. Stacy's request to defer.
Okay. Okay, the motion is still active to defer Mr. Stacy's requests. However, let me make sure, and Ms. Holly, can you help me with this? Do this need to be a part of the minutes? Was made by Mr. Hill.
Yes, we will include
Okay.
it as part of the minute. I think you need
Upgrade the.
a vote on the amendment, and
amendment.
then you can go back and vote on the original motion.
Okay. All right. So next thing we'll do, we'll vote on the amendment that Mr. Hill made.
Approve it.
I have a motion for Ms. Hamby to approve the amendment.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second?
I'll second the
Have a
motion to
second?
approve the amendment.
That this be removed. Any other questions, discussion on this minute? There being none, those in favor of the amendment, let it be raised by raising your right hands. Okay. All right. Now, and that goes along with the deferral for Mr. Stacy.
We gotta vote on
A
this.
separate
We
vote.
gotta
And
vote
then-
on that. We gotta vote
And
on
now take a vote on
Vote
the
on that deferment for Mr. Stacy.
amended
the-
motion.
Yeah,
Yes,
amended motion.
yes. Okay. You ready for the motion? Would someone need to make a motion for the deferred?
I think we made a motion, we just need to vote on it, I think.
Well, I thought we voted on the
We voted on the
amendment to the
amendment.
motion and along with the motion for Mr.
Just the
Stacy.
amendment.
So all in favor of the
Okay.
motion with the amendment?
With the amendment, yes. Okay, there we go. So those in favor of the amendment with the motion that it be deferred, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move right along. Next item on the agenda is also a request from Dan Stacy, agent for Georgetown. No, that's the wrong one. A request from Dan Stacy, agent for property owners, 3200 Divine Street LLC, to rezone a portion of one property consisting of 138.93 acres to uplands, 506 point total acreage from forest agriculture to the Blackwater River Plan Development, PD, to allow for single-family development with associated amenity. The property is located on the eastern side of David W. Ray Drive in Georgetown. And Charlie has that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This parcel previously operated as an estate tract. It's currently split zone between FA and CP Conservation Preservation zoning. There is also a duck impoundment on the property and historical rice fields, and the property, as you can see there, has frontage along the Black River and David Ray Road. The developer is requesting to rezone the upland portion of this tract from FA to PD in order to develop 396 single-family home sites and 2 commercial areas with neighborhood amenities, nature trails, and open space. The commercial areas have the following potential allowed uses: an amenity center, a pool, sports courts, a parking lot, a dog park, a boat and kayak ramp, potential for short-term RV spaces, boat, camper, and trailer storage space. Their plan is to potentially allow for clubs or memberships for the general public for those commercial type facilities in addition to the single-family dwellings. The proposal for the development is for 2 phases. The first phase would have 202 lots along with the commercial space, and the second phase would be 194 single-family lots. Phase 1, full build-out for Phase 1 for the 202 lots is predicted to be in 2030. The proposed minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet with setbacks of 20 for the front, 5 feet on each side, 15 in the rear, and 10 for the corner. They're also proposing a 70-30 impervious-pervious space ratio. They are retaining a good bit based on the plan of pervious space, so they do significantly exceed the 30% ratio for pervious development. The surrounding zoning is currently FA, Forest and Agriculture, to the north. The tracts to the east are Zone CP, of course. The properties to the south are mostly 1/2 acre. And then we have sort of a mixed bag across David Ray Road with some mobile home park, 1 acre lots, VR10, which is 1/4 acre lots. And then the gray that you see there is the Crown Point Plan development. Those 2 sections that touch David Ray Road, the one to the north is the one that's being currently developed right now. The parking is proposed at 2 spaces for each residential unit, which is the same as what's required in the zoning ordinance. The commercial sites will meet the minimum requirements of the zoning ordinance for parking. They are showing some parking within a Santee Cooper transmission line right-of-way. They have received encroachment approval to have the parking there. They, of course, can't have structures in that area, but they are approved for parking in that section. They are accessing the site off David Ray Drive, which is a state-maintained road. The roads within the development will be 50 feet rights-of-ways and include sidewalks. They will be required to apply to DOT for encroachments onto David Ray Road. A traffic analysis was required and was performed for the site because it exceeded, of course, our 500 daily trips limit for a traffic study. LJA Transportation and Engineering performed the study, which has been included in your packet. They did assess the intersections that are listed there under number 10 in your staff report. The plan indicates a total of 3,731 annual daily trips at the 2030 build-out. According to their analysis, 6 of the 7 intersections that are listed there currently operate and are expected to continue to operate at acceptable levels of service at build-out for the development. However, the 701 and Pringle Ferry Road intersection, which is number 4 from their list, does have a recommendation for a traffic signal. According to the traffic engineer's analysis, at our request, they did try to determine what percentage of that number at that intersection would be due to this development, and their number was 17.5%. So basically, their engineer is saying that their project would contribute 17.5% of the need for a signal at that particular location. I think this is a conversation that we will probably have repeatedly in sections of 701, if not this month, then next month too. But while this proposed development will contribute to the problem there at at 701 and Pringle Ferry Road, it is of course not the only contributor. The need for the improvement will increase as the other sections develop. And of course, existing traffic contributes to that as well. This project, along with other developments in the area, will contribute transportation impact fees to the county once the houses are built. This particular intersection improvement at Pringle Ferry is listed in the county's transportation element, and as such was also referenced as part of the impact fee study that we did in 2023. It would certainly need to be approved by DOT, as Mr. Hills referenced in his motion earlier. You know, these are their roads, and any changes that is subject to their approval. But the transportation impact fees that are paid with this development and with the other surrounding developments could be applied toward a future intersection improvement at this location. This would be a way to ensure that each of the developments paid at least a portion of their fair share as opposed to putting the burden on any one development. That is kind of supposed to be the reasoning behind the impact fees, that each one pays their proportionate fair share of the burden on the infrastructure. When they place that burden on the infrastructure, the impact fees should be set up to address that. Back to the development itself, they are also proposing a 20-foot vegetative buffer around the exterior of the development on the southern, western, and northern sides to help preserve the natural landscape and provide a visual transition to the adjoining land uses. There are 0.26 acres of jurisdictional wetlands and 1.57 acres of non-jurisdictional wetlands that they are proposing to mitigate with fill on the track. They have applied for mitigation permits from the Army Corps of Engineers. Those will be needed before land disturbance could take place on the site. They have also shown a 25-foot undisturbed wetland buffer around all the wetlands that will not be mitigated. And this, of course, comes from our new wetlands protection ordinance that was passed earlier this summer. The site also has a 60.7 acre man-made duck impoundment. They have applied to make improvements to this existing rice field infrastructure, basically for wildlife habitat management. That application, I think, was included in your packet. They are also proposing to put a 0.8-mile nature walking trail around the existing impoundment that you can see on the development plan. There are, as we've said, a good number of wetlands on the site, 361 acres. It's about 70% of the site. They do have plans to put some sort of conservation protection on those wetlands on the site, and that they would not be developed and preserved in perpetuity. They did provide a tree survey. There are a total of 94 grand trees on the site, and you'll remember our definition of a grand tree is basically we have a specific list for the rural section of the county, and those trees that are 24 inches in diameter or greater. They do have 94 of those. They are not proposing to remove any of the grand trees on the site for the development. They also have a canopy retention requirement that is going to require that they maintain 1,390 trees. That can be counted in the buffers that we talked about. They are retaining a good bit of trees in the amenity area, the wetland buffers, and then the impoundment levee. So they're maintaining those areas. That's where they would look to calculate their retained tree canopy. The Utility Coordinating Committee met in August. There were no major issues that were discussed. They will need to submit a fully engineered stormwater plan to the county stormwater department and to the state. There is a letter of coordination that the stormwater department signed and is provided in your packet. Sewer will be provided by the Georgetown County Water and Sewer District. They have also included a will serve letter. They are going to have to include 2 pump stations on the site to handle the sewer. Water is handled by the Rural Water District. And they have also provided a letter that's in your packet. Most of the Uplands tract is in a unregulated flood zone X. There is some of the lots that are in an AE zone, so they will be required to elevate those structures and provide elevation certificates at the time that the single-family homes are constructed. The future land use map designates this tract as conservation agriculture, or ConAg. The ConAg place type in rural settings, which is this section, is designed to support long-term agricultural and forestry activities and protected natural resources, often under long-term conservation easements. This place type may include limited residential and related structures to support activities on the property. And that, of course, is language from the land use element of the comprehensive plan. This proposed development has a gross density of 1.92 units per acre and a net density of 2.85 units per acre, which, as you will recall, anything over 2 units per acre, the county considers to be medium density. The future land use map does not currently support medium density development at this location and would need to be amended for the request. This development was created to encompass smaller lot sizes on the upland portions of the site. They are planning to conserve the majority of the wetlands besides the field that I mentioned to you, the rice fields and the protected trees that are located across this large tract. This rezoning would increase the density that's currently allowed on most of the upland portions. It does cluster development away from the trees that are located on the northern end. I think that's why they've placed their amenity there. I'm sure they can talk to you some more about that. This development as proposed, like I said, is a medium-density project with some limited commercial components, and again, would require an amendment to the future land use map. If this PD zoning is recommended for approval, staff, of course, has some conditions that are listed in your staff report there. Approval from the necessary agencies, financial guarantees if they want to deed these lots prior to completion of infrastructure, the acceptance of the traffic impact analysis, the submission of a full tree removal and replacement plan that would be reviewed by staff, the submission of street names, signage based on the zoning ordinance, and the retention of the 20-foot vegetative buffer, except as needed for things like walking trails and other encroachments. I know that that is a lot of information. I'm sure you're looking forward to hearing from the applicant, and I will be glad to try to answer any questions I can.
Thank you, Holly. Is there any question for staff at this time? Ms. Hamby?
Repeat the wetlands. Repeat the wetlands that they're going to mitigate and fill.
Yes, ma'am. Let me jump back to that. That's number 12 on your report. There are 0.26 acres of jurisdictional wetlands and 1.5 acres of non-jurisdictional wetlands that they're proposing to mitigate.
Okay, when you say mitigate, they're going to buy something and trade or,
I think it does involve some mitigation credits. Yes, ma'am. I think the engineer could probably address that better than I.
okay. So I noticed when I was reading that the Corps of Engineers has a 2025 date on it. How long is that valid?
5 years.
5 years. This was going to be my guess.
5 years, okay. And the CONAG is what our current comprehensive plan says,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Are there any development, over here on the far left of what I'm looking at on the screen, it looks like there's a little development over there.
You're asking me existing developments in the area?
Yes, it says R10 way over there. Well, what is that?
R10 is quarter acre lots.
No, but
so-
I mean, what is the name of that? What development is that?
Oh, that's Peru Drive, Peru Plantation, I think you would call it.
Okay,
There's also, of course, like I mentioned, the Crown Point development that's currently taking place on the 701, where you see the streets are kind of laid in there, where it says PD. That construction's happening now, and then Green Acres Mobile Home Park is just to the south of that property. The PD that's just under that R1 acre is another section of Crown Point. We don't have construction plans for that at this time, but conceptually it is approved for development.
okay, so the gray PD is that Crown Point.
To the left of David Ray Road, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I don't remember how many houses that is in total. Can you tell me?
I can tell you what the big conceptual total is for Crown Point. I can't tell you exactly what's happening on both of those tracks.
No, I want the total figure for when it's completed.
The number of units we have conceptually approved for Crown Point is 1,153.
So that's
Now,
what-
again, not all at this spot. Those are spread throughout all the phases that we've looked at and approved. 128 are going at that northern section that's being built today, under construction.
Okay, and are there any other developments in this general area that has been pre-approved, like say in the past 6 months, other than Crown Point?
In the past 6 months? I don't think so in this immediate area in the past 6 months. I mean, you have Peru, what we call Peru West, that's on the other side of 701 that you can kind of see in the top left corner that's been approved, but those have been approved for quite some time.
But how many houses is that?
96.
96. So we've got, let's say, 1,200 houses. approved currently that are not under construction at this point, but will be?
Somewhere around that number. You know, kind of depends on where you draw your boundaries as to what sections you pick up, but
Okay, I may have some more questions later.
sure.
Anyone else question for Holly? You have a question? If not, we'll hear from, Mr. Stacy at this time.
Good afternoon, Reverend Davis and the rest of our members of the Planning Commission. With me tonight are Clarissa Tyndall, who will do some of our presentation. I've got Art Baker, our engineer, to answer the technical questions, and two Wilders that are the landowners that are here to do this. So thank you for hearing us out tonight. Holly's staff report, as usual, is very thorough. This is a nice, beautiful piece of land that, because of the transition in the county and the proximity of Crown Point and the other facilities around it, is not exactly as rural as it used to be. There's quite a bit of development going on. Meritage Homes is building on that section of Crown Point that Ms. Hamby asked about. And this plan is an interesting plan because it does follow what we've been told you guys are looking for with a lot of the clustering to keep the sensitive areas of this property more protected. To the left is a really beautiful section that has some direct water access, and we would plan an amenity center there that would allow for public access and some memberships and boat launches and kayak launches and things like that. We've tried to buffer this site to preserve as much of the tranquility of the neighborhood as we possibly can. The stormwater here, Mr. Baker can talk about, but because of its proximity to the river, it'll be a fairly easy stormwater plan. Ms. Hamby asked about the wetlands. Those two areas actually were originally man-created ditches to drain this area when it was in cultivation. Over time, they've acquired some wetland character, but they would be mitigated per the Corps of Engineers. But we preserved, as Holly indicated, the vast majority of them in their untouched state and would perpetually restrict those. There are some interesting lifestyle pieces of this, and I'll be glad to turn it over to Clarissa so she can talk about some of the lifestyle amenities that we're trying to offer for this community for the residents that may come there. And then we'll have some other stuff from Mr. Baker about technical questions about traffic and wetlands for you guys as well. So I'll let Clarissa talk through the concept of the plan.
Holly, I've got some handouts. Good evening. So yes, as Dan said, thank you, Dan. I'll start with the amenity area because I feel like that's the most interesting. We organized that kind of to emulate Wedgefield and how all of the structures kind of sit beneath the oak trees and the roadways accommodate space for the existing oaks. We didn't want to remove any of those old grand trees, and we didn't really want to impact any of those trees either. So we have some one-way road systems in that area that you can see on Art's plans. And then we also organized and wrote the verbiage of the narrative such that we didn't have to have a minimum road frontage. The reason why we did that was to ensure that we could accommodate these structures underneath the existing tree canopies and reduce our impact in that aspect. So we also, as Dan mentioned, we've buffered the entire property. So we maintained those wetland buffers that the county did establish, but we also established our own exterior buffers as well. We chose 20 feet because typically that would buffer a lot of the visibility, maintain privacy for the neighbors. Those would also ensure wildlife corridors for any wildlife on the property that needs to traverse. And then within some of those buffers, we've established walking paths, and you would see that in the white dashed line on that handout. We did not establish these walking paths in any of the buffers that abut a neighboring property. Again, we wanted to maintain privacy for our neighbors. We wanted to be respectful in that aspect. We do have that 1.3 mile walking path around the duck impoundment. In total, including our sidewalks, we have about 7 miles of paths and trails throughout the development. We really wanted to be kind of recreation forward because you don't really see that in a lot of developments these days. We also added the community gardens. That's one thing that we did underneath those power lines. We thought that was a nice touch as well. Those were designed after the Eddie B. Ellis Community Gardens on Winyaw Street, if anybody's familiar, in the West End. Yeah, so we designed those because those are very successful. We thought that would be a nice touch to the community as well. The way that we designed the home sites as well was very intentional. We have those smaller lot sizes that Holly mentioned, kind of adjacent to David Ray Road. The reason being is that we can have, if we can have smaller lot sizes there, you can sell those for a little bit less. So then you can have more variety in who is coming into this development, a little bit more affordability. So the lots do get bigger as they go towards the wetlands. Another reason for that is that we wanted less density adjacent to those sensitive wetland areas. So we have larger lots there as well. So, I mean, on that note, we didn't want every single parcel to be exactly the same. We wanted variety in this, like a traditional neighborhood where you have young families, retirees, people kind of in the middle ages, families, non-families. You know, we wanted a mixture of people in this development. We didn't just want it to be copy paste. And so everything was designed with the intent to do that. And then the commercial component, so right now we've accommodated for a boat storage facility. The reason why that was the commercial component we chose is because of the Shrine Club. If y'all are familiar, if you're going towards Conway, right before you cross the Black River Bridge, if you take a left, there's a boat storage and boat launch there. That's the Shrine Club, and that's membership based. That commercial component already exists in this community. It's been proven to not negatively impact the community. And so we thought that that was a respectable commercial component to utilize in our plans. We did also write into the narrative that the amenity component, so the pools, the tennis courts, tennis courts, fields, and like dog park, if we do that, those can be commercialized as well if the HOA or whatever governing body that's formed agrees on that. So that would be more community-based. That would be a community-based decision. But yeah, is there any questions in that aspect for me? Or I turn
Any
it over
questions?
to
I
Art?
have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Hill?
Yes. Mr. Stacy mentioned public access. Where is that and how many parking spaces are allowed for the public to park?
So right now we've accommodated for 50 parking spaces in the amenity area.
50?
50 total, yes, sir. And then that's not including the parking that we've accommodated for the boat launch. So that one is separate. But we do have those 50 spots, yes, sir.
Where is that located?
It would be in the amenity area, so all the way to the left. It would be underneath the power lines, I think is where we put it to mitigate the impact.
All the way to
And
the left.
we've written it into the narrative as well that all of the parking areas, when feasible, will be permeable, sorry. So they would allow for water filtration. They wouldn't contribute to stormwater runoff.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Mr. Hamby?
I want to be sure I understood what you meant about the boat landing and the parking and that's going to be public.
So it'll be club-based. So it will be available to the public based on a membership-based system. So it doesn't, you will have parking for the residents of the development, and then the general public that does not live within the development can get a membership. And so, yes, there will be parking for them if they have that membership.
So that'll be like a private club, so to speak.
For lack of a better term, yes.
Okay. So when you say commercial, is there going to be any business there that's charging people for something?
Yes, ma'am. So that would be, right now, the only commercial component would be the boat storage facility. And that will eventually be turned over to the HOA, and the HOA would kind of run that business.
Okay, so if I wanted to store my boat there and I live in Pawleys, but I want to get on the river, I could
Yes,
do
ma'am.
that.
Yes, ma'am, you will be able to.
Okay, and then you said the lots close to the road are smaller, but the lots going in towards the duck pond or reserve or whatever that is are larger. Describe larger.
I think Art would be the better one to describe that. He knows the exact acreage
Okay.
sizes, square footages.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hill?
How many memberships are going to be available for the boat landing?
So we haven't established that yet. We kind of left it open-ended, so again, the HOA could establish that. We wanted the residents of the development to kind of have an opinion on how many memberships they wanted to offer.
Any other questions? The applicant?
I will for
Okay,
for Mr. Stacy.
all right. If there's none, we open up for,
Well, I think we were gonna
you
hear.
you have something else, Mr. Stacy?
I think
To present?
the question was, if you have some questions about some of the engineering or traffic, or Mr. Armstrong has a specific question, Art, if you wanted to address anything about the traffic or the traffic study, this is a great time to do it. But if you have questions, we'll be glad to try to field those as well.
Yeah, my question was about in the materials, it says that the permits, well, one, it says mitigation permits, but I think it's wetland fill permits that you have to get, you don't get a permit to mitigate, you get a permit to fill, and then mitigation is a requirement, I think is how it works, but it says that permits have been applied for, but I only saw a preliminary wetlands determination from the consultant. I didn't see, has there been an approved jurisdictional determination and I saw and I also saw there were,
Pull your microphone closer.
oh, and I also saw that there were the permit for the work in the impoundment, but that's not the wetland fill permit. So have you actually applied for wetland fill permit with the Corps?
I'll let Mr. Baker, the engineer, answer that part for that technical question. Absolutely.
Just for clarification, it has been delineated. It has not been applied for mitigation. I think there was just for clarity, that mitigation typically goes forward once the final plan has been approved. So what we're communicating with the planning is that we would be required to obtain, permits from the Corps of Engineers for that.
But you have not applied
We
for
have
them yet.
not. We have
Right.
not. We're just at the rezoning stage right now.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So the way I understand the wetlands ordinance is that you would actually need to comply with the Georgetown requirements since you haven't already applied for an approval from the Corps of Engineers.
Well, we have submitted this will be submitted to the Corps of Engineers for their approval.
Right, but it has not been submitted yet.
It has not, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
So you can't move forward without any those,
Well,
any those permit?
If this group and then subsequently county council doesn't see fit to approve this, there would be no reason to expend the energy and resources in that direction.
Okay.
And if you need us to come back after, I know there's some public input here that, I know there's some folks signed up, so we'll be glad to come back if you have other questions, after you've
Can-
heard from them.
Can
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Baker tell me the size of the larger lots?
Sure. Those would vary from around 8,000 up to 13, 14,000 along the marsh. Yes, ma'am.
Can you translate that to acres for me?
Well, it go on up to approximately 0.4 acres.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
So
Good.
when you
Go ahead, Ms.
submitted the application, it asks for that, it asks about, there's some questions about the wetland impacts. And my understanding is that because you don't have you haven't applied already for the Corps permit, that the Georgetown County Wetlands Protection Ordinance would be applicable here.
Um,
And maybe Holly is,
Well,
just to, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Art.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's not even possible for us to apply for mitigation until we have an approved plan by the county. So we can't even, this new wetlands ordinance has recently been adopted, so we are the guinea pig on this, my understanding. So my understanding is that we acknowledge that those mitigations will be required. We have done that. We've shown them clearly. And we've demonstrated, restraint on development so that we've minimized any impact. We're at less than 1% of impact of all wetlands, less than 1%. So we actually technically can't apply for mitigation and for the permitting until it has been approved by the county for the site plan. That's my understanding.
And I was going to just read the language, the exemption language as it's written in the ordinance, and this is under the list of exemptions. Any development projects that are currently under review and/or have submitted an application to the Corps or DES pursuant to the effective date of this ordinance.
correct, exactly. So they have not submitted, he just acknowledged that they haven't submitted to the Corps for approval.
And
So-
they,
And the reason we did that, my recollection, is because we wanted to allow people that had already applied to not get caught under new requirements, but new projects that hadn't already applied would have to meet the county has separate obligations under the Wetlands Protection Ordinance.
correct. They did submit a wetlands application with their request as well.
Okay,
I mean,
They
so
did.
they submitted as to be, reviewed under the wetlands ordinance.
thank you. Okay.
I think and I don't want to put words in your mouth,
I'm
Mr. Baker
sorry.
is saying is he this request is his attempt to minimize the fill and,
Right.
that
okay.
the fill is needed for the project.
Correct.
And they've minimized it to the best of their,
Okay.
of it.
Correct.
So you approach this with, you believe that this is in compliance with Georgetown County's ordinance? Is that the position?
It is. We have submitted the required application for both the rezoning and the wetlands.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
I didn't see any of that material and,
We can certainly provide that application to you as well. It's a brand new application that we pretty much created for them as the first go round.
Okay, any other questions for the applicants?
Well, do you want,
Uh,
do you have any questions about traffic? Traffic study, or would you rather hear from the public and then we would come back?
You want to do your traffic study? We can listen to the traffic
Yeah,
study now.
just wanted to make a few points on the TIA, that is at an F condition regardless of what, regardless of the proposed improvements. That one particular intersection would be at an F condition based on the, development in the area. So that it has, while we contribute to it, by no means are we the lion's share of that. In addition, I wanted to just address the stormwater. Since we are right on the river, we would not create any backwater, any obstruction for any upstream developments or anything. We basically would handle our own stormwater. So as far as creating a stormwater problem, we would discharge directly to the river. We're not basically being a conduit for other developments. So there would be no downstream impact or upstream impact with this. On the utilities, as Holly has mentioned, we have received approval from all, will serve from all required utility agencies. I did want to mention one other item on the density. Once the dike is repaired, and that's that special item in the packet. Once the dike is repaired, and that's been in application for quite a while, that would actually bring the density to below a 2. It'd be at a 1 point, actually below a 2, 1.9 something, but that would qualify for low density development. So even though we're on the low side of medium density, once that's repaired, we actually would qualify for low density development, which is unusual, so.
All right, thank you, sir.
I have like
One question.
one follow-up question on that.
Go ahead,
I
Mr.
think, so what you're saying presupposes that you could develop in the impoundment areas? That's how you're calculating, because you're including that at the impoundment areas, is that?
Right, not for development, but it qualifies once once an impoundment that actually is, would be considered uplands at that point, by the Corps of Engineers. What we're saying is we basically are at a medium density right now. Once that repair is done, we will qualify for low density.
Right. So
Yeah, we have no intention.
You're counting the dike on the impoundment towards the
Correct,
density.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So increasing his open space.
Correct.
Got a question.
We go, Mr. Hill?
Question. Can you build on that dike?
No, sir.
Can you build in the impoundment?
No, sir.
But you're adding that to your concept of buildable acres when you do houses, units per acre, houses per acre.
We're just giving that as a matter of information now. We're not applying that right now. We're still at a medium density. All I was trying to communicate was, technically we would be qualifying as low density. So we're not planning to build in there or anything like that.
Holly, does the county take into consideration dikes and impoundments for built as unit when they're calculating units per acre?
I don't think our ordinances are that specific. It just talks about uplands, versus wetlands. I think if that had been done before this, we would just have presented it to you kind of like Mr. Baker just said it, it's medium density without the impoundment, and this is the density when you add the impoundment in, just to be aware that that's why there is that distinction between the two.
So it's kind of like smoke and mirrors.
I think
Just to,
it's changing the amount that you use to create the,
It's not smoke and mirrors, it's the technical
Calculation.
definition. That is not a wetland. When that dike is repaired, it is not a wetland. That is a Corps of Engineers definition. It is not a smoke and mirrors thing. It is a technical definition produced by the United States Army Corps of Engineers.
But if I wanted to build my house out there, I couldn't. So you can't count that as buildable land. I
We're not.
don't
We're
understand it, but I'm not going to argue
Counting that
with
as an
you.
upland because that's the way the Corps would count it.
Is there going to be duck hunting in the duck impoundment?
Safe place.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Bob's here.
Appreciate it.
Why is the impoundment? Why is that permit being requested then? I don't.
Ms. Armstrong, we believe it to be a great amenity to this facility. If it were built, it would be a great walking area and a great place to get outside and be in nature. And that's what it would be. It would be topped with a walking surface, a walking path, and that's the reason for the repair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We open up a public hearing at this time. Trina.
Buddy Brand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Councilman. I'm not sure if I'm going to throw up here or not. I've heard about all I can stand. I don't think that this plan is keeping it all within the comprehensive plan from the way I read it. This plan is not keeping with the South Carolina Black River Scenic New Plan that they just put out in the state capital. My name is Buddy Brand, and I own Benevento Plantation, which we purchased about 11 years ago, thanks to Holly's help getting this done. Thank you, Holly. It is a conservation easement on 200 acres of land with a house that's one of the oldest in the state of South Carolina. It was built and run by Christopher Gatson, who was a Revolutionary War man, plus quite a few others, and Mr. Pringle, others. What I see is this. First is a cash grab. I mean, this is nothing but a cash grab, period. I was a county councilman in Florence, South Carolina, and a city councilman, and this happened in Florence, the exact same thing, except we don't have a river running through Florence, we have a creek. Huge developments cause gentrification, longtime residents and local culture and basic risk displacements because they can't pay the taxes that this is going to cause. One thing I didn't hear, because we have about 1.25 miles of Black River on our property. What about the insecticides that these people will all use? Where's that going to drain? It's going to drain right in the river. And whether it's going to, and to say it's not going to go up or down, well, that's just plain stupid. At high tide, it's going up, and at low tide, it's going down. And this is, I mean, come on, it is what it is. Another question is, why have these pieces of land not been available for public purchase before now? Why are we hearing it at the end? This is all BS. I'm telling you, I know this because I've been on these situations. This is nothing but a cash grab, and it ought to be knocked down. And Georgetown, with the traffic, have you been down 701 lately? How many houses are they building? They're going to put several hundred houses, 400, 500. That's 2 cars to a house. That's 1,000 more traffic on a 2-lane road. I don't know any place that could do that. All I know is if you're doing this, this is going to make this city a Mount Pleasant, a James Island, and a Charleston if you're not careful. Please deny this request.
Right.
Thank you.
Ms. Katrina, who's next? on the agenda?
Becky Ryan.
Good evening. My name is Becky Ryan. I'm the North Coast Office Director with the Coastal Conservation League. I do have some concerns about this project. I'll start with the good part first. I do appreciate the clustering of the development in order to reduce the strain on our natural resources and infrastructure, and the preservation of the grand trees on the property. Those are great things. I am concerned about the building in the flood zone, the AE flood zone. We all know that the FEMA flood maps are not 100% accurate, and so there's no guarantee that the surrounding lots would not also flood. Furthermore, there was reference in the packet to the need for additional housing units for Georgetown County. That is certainly true, but the 2025 housing impact analysis pointed out that we need at least 6,200 new housing units to meet the demand for low and moderate incomes. Currently, the median home price in Georgetown County would need an income of $141,000, and the median income in Georgetown is $68,000. I did not hear any guarantee that these smaller lots even would be affordable housing, just cost less than the larger lots. But we do not need more riverfront club housing or short-term RV housing. We need affordable and workforce housing for our teachers, for our firefighters, for our police service. I also did not hear reference to the 15-foot setback requirement along with the 25-foot wetland buffer. I hope that that is included in order to comply with the wetland protection ordinance that was mentioned. And last and certainly most important, this is not compatible with the future land use map that we just adopted less than 2 years ago. It's meant to be conservation preservation and conservation agriculture, not medium density. Thank you for your consideration.
Dave Kroll.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Dave Kroll, and I appreciate the opportunity to comment today. I understand that with the departure of significant industry, change is now inevitable, and I am not opposed to responsible growth. However, new housing should not be approved without adequately addressing the impacts of development on infrastructure in existing communities. Emergency and police services are already strained. Our consumer power costs have grown significantly in the last 3 years. Water and sewer infrastructure deserve the same scrutiny. New subdivisions will place additional demands on all public services. Most importantly, the traffic and roadway impacts of new housing need to be taken seriously. Every new subdivision adds vehicles to roads that are already experiencing congestion, inadequate shoulders, limited sight distance, unsafe intersections, and insufficient capacity. I currently exit every day on that intersection they refer to as needing a stoplight. We've asked numerous times for a stoplight. We don't get one. I believe I heard them use the words that it was a insignificant or small impact contribution, 17% or something like that. Anyway, that housing development will make that intersection miserable. A light would necessarily have to be there. Unfortunately, there is no simple way for our main streets to accommodate this increased traffic. Soon, we will suffer the same fate as residents of Pawleys Island and Mount Pleasant. The county must consider whether developments are consistent with realistic long-term growth strategy. The county's comprehensive plan, including the land use element and the future land use map, addresses infrastructure concerns without what I consider to be adequate public notice. It's not enough to acknowledge the infrastructure improvements are necessary. These improvements should be identified, properly planned, and reasonably funded before the community is asked to absorb the consequences. The financial burden of these necessary infrastructure improvements must fall on the developers, not the residents who are already here. Existing residents should not have to endure worsening traffic, inadequate roads, additional strain on emergency services, stressed water and sewer systems, and unreliable utility service simply because development was approved. We all want Georgetown County to prosper, but the board must protect the quality of life, public safety, and the economic interests of the residents who are already here. The Shrine Club, by the way, only has 10 to 15 boats, not 50 plus. Public.
Agreed. Ms. Katrina?
Julie Rogers.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really have nothing much more to add than the people who have spoken before me, other than the people in our neighborhood, we are not going to benefit from this. And I worry about the effects upriver or downriver that it will have on Black River. That is very close proximity, and our neighborhood cannot handle this influx. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was it?
Okay, that's it for public input. Ms. Stacy, do you want to answer?
Yes, sir, Reverend Davis. There were some comments made about the impact on utilities. You've seen in your package, there's a will serve letter from every utility company that services this area. They have plenty of capacity. The discussion about property taxes is one we probably ought to have a fun workshop about sometime about what's really true and not true about what new development does to existing property taxes. I think your county assessor has indicated a willingness to come and speak to you about that and maybe has spoken to you about that before, because I want everybody to be clear on how that actually works. With regard to the traffic, I think Mr. Hills is right in his earlier comments. As we were deferring the first one, I'm not here to fight with Horry County, but we're in that same region of them with the DOT, and we've lost quite a bit of funding in our road systems to road systems there. And I do believe that our county administrator and county council and legislative delegations should look at a lot of these roads as a whole. But at the same time, I don't want the planning commission to totally disregard private property rights and what some of those may be. And also, and this is a sad thing about the way our Department of Transportation works, for those that want traffic improvements, you have to have higher traffic counts. These areas and these intersections don't warrant, and that's the term the DOT likes to use, they don't warrant signalization until certain things happen with counts. And so it's kind of a catch-22. Sometimes you have to have more counts to get the signalization and the traffic improvements that you'd like.
Yep.
I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
Just for information, have you, had a sit down with the resident in that area to see if they can possibly come to a resolution on this?
Like we've talked about before, in this community, this is a compliment, not a criticism. It's not like like at Wedgefield, the first one we deferred, we've gone and met with them. There's a way to get to and meet the group of people. All we have access to here is tax addresses, and I don't know if those people all live in those houses or not. So we'll be glad to try to schedule some type of a meeting to discuss. I just don't know how to get in touch with all the parties that live in the neighborhoods that would want to do so. It's just harder because of the nature of this being not, it's not a master plan community. So we'll be glad to.
Go ahead, finish, Mr.
No, I'd be glad to. I just don't know a mechanism to get the right people to the right place and where we would do that, but always be glad to talk to the community.
I think that would be a good thing. Yes, Ms. Hammond.
I read over all this information, which was fairly extensive, and there was a mention of short-term rental. Can you explain that to me?
In the amenities center, one of the things, because we're so new into this, until you get a little further along, one of the things that was discussed was there was any marketplace for some short-term rentals that would have some river access through the amenities section of this. And so there's not a plan inside of the normal residential lots to have any short-term rentals, but it would be a potential option in the amenities center on the riverside.
Okay, but I want to know if you're talking about, like a monthly rental, a weekly rental, a daily rental?
I don't have an answer for you on that because we haven't planned that amenity center and run all the details on it.
Okay, and then probably, I don't know that you can answer this question, maybe Holly can, but I have discovered that a lot of times people take studies and things from charts and graphs and books and things that they have that are dated like maybe 2008. So when they're doing a traffic study, do they have up-to-date information, or is it, from some university that they've published something and now everybody's saying this is, the rule?
I think in this case, they did their own traffic counts. So they did actual counts at
They
the
did.
intersections that are listed in the study. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then what school serves this area?
Ooh, the elementary school?
Oh,
Either
Kensington, I would think.
Kensington, either
Georgetown
Kensington,
Middle School,
possibly.
Georgetown High School.
okay, so,
Kensington, probably.
Kensington, Georgetown Middle, and
And
Georgetown High.
Georgetown Middle would probably, service those.
okay, and does anybody know whether they are able to take an influx of students? And it's not just this project that is concerning me, it's about all the other projects that are out there. And then if this gets approved, you're looking at thousands. And then I'm sure that whoever has purchased the steel mill and the paper mill, they're going to do something. So I don't want to live in Myrtle Beach or Mount Pleasant or those places.
In terms of the schools, obviously that is not a county function, but I've not been made aware of any, where they've reached limits or at overcrowding. I'm not aware of that.
Okay. You have a question, Mr. Hill?
This is for Holly. Holly, we get traffic studies, and we get, density studies. We get, the water and sewer has a stamp of approval or disapproval. But we don't get any advice from the school district on our developments. Why is that? That's part of our infrastructure in a real way.
Mr. Hills, we can certainly get information from the school district, but I believe Mr. Swenson's paper published an article by Dr. Giles a couple of weeks ago that the school enrollment in Georgetown County is in decline except for on the Waccamaw Neck. I believe that was an
Yeah.
article that was published a couple weeks ago, but if the
Yeah.
planning commission would like that information, we'll be glad to get it.
That's true, but that's obviously getting ready to change.
We can certainly provide information from the school district on this request and similar requests. They're not, not typically considered a utility, so they don't participate in our utility coordinating committee, and I don't know that they need to. That's a more technical review, but we could certainly include them on our notification process and reach out to them for input, for sure.
Okay.
And can I ask Holly a question?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so Mr. Baker was saying that they're going to discharge the stormwater and stuff right into the river. One of the people in the audience questioned, what's going to happen to the fertilizer and not just fertilizer, but I on my own yard put stuff out to kill the bugs that are bothering my grass. So that's going to be a lot of lawns and a lot of maintenance. So who determines the quality of what's being discharged into the river? I'm thinking of Merle's Inlet and the marsh. We don't want the river turning into Merle's Inlet.
I do think that Mr. Baker would probably like to answer this question. We certainly don't have county regulations on, putting insecticides on your own private yard. I think the hope would be that the wetlands buffers and the separations that we've put in place would help to mitigate that somewhat, but probably Mr. Baker wants to address that as well.
That's a very good question. The county and the state already have requirements for what's called water quality treatment. And so as you see, there's numerous ponds in this that would basically be used for water quality. That's the standard of care and design that's utilized throughout the Low Country, not only Georgetown County, but in all coastal counties as well. So we will be in compliance for water quality management. So all of the water would go through a water quality basin before it's discharged. What I was trying to communicate previously was that in terms of volume, not in terms of queue, in terms of flow capacity, we would not be obstructing anything upstream. That was what I was trying to communicate. I'm sorry if I didn't do that well, but as far as the water quality, everything is going to be routed through a piping system and for water quality basins and for detention. So we would be in compliance with that. You can see those in the blue throughout. We've put the ponds throughout. So that's exactly like we have all along the Waccamaw Neck and throughout Georgetown County.
Okay, thank you. Good. That closes the public hearing.
That's it.
Okay, any other questions before we move on to make a motion for this? All right, then. We have a motion to rezone a portion of one property consisting of 138.93 acres of uplands to 506 total planned development to allow for single-family development with associated ministry. The property is located on the eastern side of David Ray Drive in Georgetown. That's the motion.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion, and I want to explain the reason for the motion, but we just adopted this comprehensive plan not that long ago. The county did, and we developed these future land use maps as part of it. And we said that we wanted this area to be conservation agriculture, and that is to include limited residential development and related structures. So I agree that the applicant's done a nice job of protecting the trees and the amenities, and there are a lot of good things about what they have, but at the end of the day, this is a rezoning to increase the density to make it inconsistent with the future land use map. And I strongly believe that we should be making rezoning requests to bring it into consistency with the future land use map. And so for that reason, I move that we recommend denial of the rezoning request.
Okay. Okay, we have, a motion of denial by, Ms. Armstrong and second by Ms. Newton. The motion is on the floor. Is any other discussion on this motion? Anyone else, any other discussion? There being none, those in favor of the motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. Motion carried. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if we could just remind folks that this is a recommendation from the Planning Commission. This will move on to County Council
Absolutely.
at their next available meeting.
Absolutely. Again, any decision is made here with the planning commission, all this goes to county council. County council has the final say. Even if we voted up, county council can vote it down. So next county council meeting, please be there. All right. We'll move right along. So we have, next on the agenda, may I have your attention, please? Next on the agenda is a request from Charles Suggs, agent for Patrick.
Mr. Reeves first.
Pardon me?
Mr. Reeves is first. before
Mr.
Mr.
Reeves?
Suggs.
Oh, I don't see Mr. Reeves on my.
See,
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have Mr. Reeves. Did y'all give me Mr. Reeves? I got it on my, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Reeves. I see it. I'm sorry. Next on the agenda, request from Mr. Robert Victor Reeves. You need to rezone his property approximately 17.52 acres from village, 10,000 square feet VR 10 to forest agriculture. The property is located on a private drive off Big Dam Swamp Drive in the Big Dam Swamp section of Georgetown County. And Mr. Reeves, are you here?
I have this case.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm out of order again.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This parcel is currently consist of a residential home site with a open air structure that's located between the ponds on the southern portion of the lot. The applicant proposes to rezone a total of 17.52 acres from VR 10,000 square foot lots to FA, which is 1 acre lots. He is proposing this so he can have a wedding venue or event space located in the existing new structure that's built on the site. The existing structure was permitted and built as a pole barn and classified as an accessory structure on the property. The current VR 10 zoning does not allow for a wedding venue or event space. Setbacks for the FA zoning district are 50 for the front, 20 for the side, and 30 for the rear. The minimum lot size is 1 acre. Since this zoning needs to be changed to meet the allowable use of the venue, the new building setbacks must be met. FA requires a 20-foot side yard setback as opposed to the VR 10 requires a 10-foot side setback. The property owner will need to apply for ZBA for a variance to the setback requirement. Parking for the commercial site would be available on the applicant's 16.96 acre property adjacent to the west of the property. Surrounding tracts to the north and west are zoned VR 10. Tracts to the south and east are zoned FA. Access to the property is via private unnamed drive that will need to be named. This drive accesses 2 houses and comes south off of Big Dam Swamp Drive, which is a South Carolina DOT state-owned and maintained right away. Staff does not consider this spot zoning because of the parcel size in the adjacent FA zoning district. Buffers are not required against existing vacant or residential properties. There are no wetlands located on this site, and this is not in a regulated flood zone. The future land use map for Georgetown County shows this area in rural residential place type, and this fits with the density and the use allowed for the site. So no change to the future land use map is warranted. A reconfiguration plat will need to be reviewed and approved by Planning Department after the rezoning, if it's approved. The proposed rezoning to FA is to comply to the use requirement to the zoning code so that it will be able to use be able to use a outdoor wedding venue on his property. He owns approximately 23.5 acres of land in total and has no intentions of developing anything else on this property. The engineer is currently working to get the existing structure into architectural and engineering compliance. Stormwater requirements are also being addressed. Fire code will need to be met before the certificate of occupancy will be issued by the building official. If the rezoning is approved, a reconfiguration plat will need to be reviewed and approved by planning staff. And also, staff would recommend that the applicant apply to ZBA for a variance to the setback. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Any questions for staff? Okay, Mr. Reeves?
Yeah,
Comment?
my wife and I built this, started on it last year. We didn't know how long it was gonna take to build it, so we applied for a residential permit, received a permit and built it as you see it, but I did have it, engineered for IBC or, commercial standards. Not sure what I was gonna have to do after the fact. So once we got it built, we didn't think we were gonna have it built that fast. We were contacted by the county and found out the process that we needed to take, and the steps we needed to take to make this official. So that's where we are. I'm currently working with, East Earthworks, engineering group out of Merle's Inlet. They have a site plan developed, to submit to stormwater, for it. Everything that they say is good to go, shouldn't have to do anything. Everything meets the requirements, only a little over 6,000 square feet of impervious area. And we have the ponds that have been there for many years that, according to them, would take care of stormwater requirements. But they're currently working on that. I have Callahan Engineering in Kingstree that originally drew the plans. They are working on a life safety plan and should be submitted pretty soon for an upfit permit with the county to make it compliant.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other? Thank you, sir. Any questions for that? Okay, if not, okay. Anything else? Any questions for staff? Question for staff? Okay, well, we can make a motion on this. Yeah, public. Oh,
No
yeah.
public input.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve, recommend approval of the rezoning from VR10 to FA.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Armstrong. You got a motion on the floor?
Second.
Second. You all heard the motion? Any other discussion on the motion? There being none, those in favor, let me know by raising your right hand.
And this too will go to county council for review.
Right, this will also go to county
For
council.
final
for review.
approval.
Okay, next on the agenda is request from Charles Suggs, agent for Patrick McClary III, to rezone 84.23 acre tract from forest agriculture and limited industrial LI to flexible design district FDD to allow for a single-family development with the associated amenities. The property is located on the west side of Brick Chimney Road, approximately 678 feet north of Market Street in Georgetown. And Ms. Judy has that also.
Yes, sir, thank you. This parcel was previously operated as a timber tract and is forested and or recently timbered and currently split zoned FA and LI, which is closer to the railroad tracks. A previous request was submitted in April to rezone the property to a planned development to allow for 272 single-family units. 182 single-family lots were 7,500 square feet and 90 single-family lots at 3,300 square feet, as well as a 5.9 acre commercial site and a master amenity. A recommendation of denial was sent to county council based on the proposed density, and the applicant withdrew his request prior to the second reading. The applicant is now requesting to rezone the parcels from FA and LI to a flexible design district. This is to develop a 224 single-family home site consisting of 7,500 square feet and a master amenity. This reduction of 48 units or 17.6% from the previous request. The proposed dimensional standards for Brick Chimney Road PD are 20 for the front, 5 for the side, and 10 for the rear, with a minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet. The surrounding tracts to the north and west are zoned FA. Tracts to the south and southwest are limited industrial, and tracts to the east and south are zoned 1/2 acre residential. The closest residential property is adjacent to the parcel to the east along Brick Chimney Road. Access to the project will be from Brick Chimney Road, which is a state-maintained road with an internal road system built to service the residents. The interior roadways within the project are anticipated to be public roads with a minimum of 50-foot rights-of-ways and have a 5-foot sidewalks located on the access. Secondary access will be via Gapway Road, which is also a state-maintained road. Encroachment permits will be required by DOT for the two accesses. A traffic impact analysis was conducted by Access Engineering, and a report was submitted to staff for the review. This development shows approximately 2,926 average daily trips. The study recommended that a westbound 100-foot storage right lane turn be warranted on High Market Street at the approach to Brick Chimney Road. No changes are recommended for the Gapway Road intersection. Results of the analysis indicate the studied intersections currently operate and are expected to continue to operate at an acceptable level of service. This traffic study was based on the previous layout of 272 units and the 3,200 square foot small office space, so actually the traffic counts will probably be a little bit less than what the traffic study warranted. Buffers are not required against existing vacant or residential properties. However, the developer is proposing a 25-foot undisturbed buffer along Brick Chimney Road and a portion of the western boundary. In addition, a 50-foot buffer is being proposed along the railroad. There are 3.52 acres of wetlands on the property that are not proposed to be filled or disturbed. The developer is providing the required 25-foot buffer adjacent to the wetlands, as well as the required 15-foot rear setback off of the buffer. A tree survey was overlaid on the site plan, and it shows 33 protected trees on site. 12 of those are classified as ground trees over 24 inches DBH. No ground trees are proposed to be removed, and they will be required to preserve 807 trees or 8,071 inches of DBH. A utility coordination committee meeting was held back in April, and all the applicable parties were representative, and there were no major issues discussed at that time. The new plan was submitted as information to the UCC meeting in August, and the comments from the previous meeting were still valid. This parcel is not in a regulated flood zone. The future land use map designates this property as both a residential mixed use and employment. The residential mixed use allows for an appropriate transition between highly traveled corridors and existing and planned residential neighborhoods. The proposed FDD zoning is intended to be a single-use community with a net density of 3.89 units per acre, which is considered medium density. The future land use map supports this request. The net density from the previous request was 4.81 units per acre, so it's a reduction of about 1 unit per acre. This location along Brick Chimney Road is considered by the land use element to the 2024 comprehensive plan to be within the potential housing special emphasis area. This proposed request is intended to provide 224 housing units, some of which will be available as workforce housing or more affordable options for the citizens and residents of Georgetown County. In conclusion, the proposed Brick Chimney Road FDD has the potential to bring much needed workforce housing to the rural Georgetown area. While this rezoning would increase the density currently allowed on this tract by about 2.7 units per acre, the future land use map supports the medium to high density. on this tract. The development as proposed indicates medium density. If the proposed PD is recommended to council for approval, staff proposes the following conditions: that final approval letters from the county, state, and federal agencies before the start of the development, acceptance of a traffic impact analysis, a tree removal and replacement plan shall be submitted and approved prior to construction. Street names will be approved. Criteria for affordability should be based on the land use element of comprehensive plan and should provide at least 20% of the total units or 45 units as workforce housing at 120% AMI. Details for affordability requirements may be addressed between the applicant and the county with a memorandum of understanding or an agreement. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and Mr. Dan Stacy is here representing the applicant.
Any question for staff? Anyone? Yes, Mr. Hill.
Define workforce housing, please.
Define workforce housing?
Define it as far as value, selling price.
So, workforce housing is typically, and we pulled these numbers from the land use element in the comp plan, 20% of the AMI. So Ms. Ryan indicated that the median income in Georgetown County is 68,000. If that's the number, then you take 120% of that. That would be the individual that you were trying to target with the housing, and that person shouldn't pay more than a third of their income towards housing. So you back into it that way. It's not really defined as a cost, a housing cost, but it's basically based on what that individual could afford.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Is the applicant here? Mr. Stacy?
Mr. Hills, to your question, the county's really only done one of these that I know of because we worked on it on that project Carolina Trails, if you'll remember. What we worked out on that one, it seemed to make sense, is we were going to allocate the number of units and that Judy's indicated would be available in this workforce housing program. But with a backstop that the builder would not be required to sell it for less than actual cost, audited cost, plus 15%. So that was kind of a win-win for everybody. So it was making some units at a more affordable level, but not trying to force somebody to build something to lose money on. That was what we did on that one. And so as here, we would begin those negotiations with the county administrator, and I'm assuming they would look a whole heck of a lot like they did with Carolina Trails, because I think that's the only one that the county's done to completion. I think, Holly, is that right?
That's correct.
That's right. So to this project, we were here before, presented, I believe, my memory of this project is that we got relatively positive feedback from you as to the project as a whole, because we were saving trees, preserving the wetlands, installing sidewalks, but the comment was, and I think it was Ms. Hamby's comment was, it's just too dense. So back to the drawing board to pull out about 20% of the residential units and forego the 34,000 square feet of commercial to bring it back as a less dense project. The staff report says this. Ms. Armstrong commented on this about the prior application. You guys did spend a whole lot of money producing your comprehensive plan and your future land use map, and this area was designated specifically as a target housing area in the county because of the availability of the infrastructure, the recently increased Brick Chimney Road paving, and the water and sewer being available. And so this is squarely within everything you have published in your comprehensive plan and future land use map about what you want in this part of the county. Hearing from the community and hearing from the Planning Commission, we carved some density out of it. Mr. Suggs at G3 Engineering has really done the design for this plan, so I'm going to kick it to him, let him talk through the details that have changed or anything else you'd like to know.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. Again, it's originally started out with 272 units, reduction to 224 total, reduction of 18% roughly from the total. The plan the original plan before you with the 272 was being considered prior to the change in the wetland ordinance. Subsequently, since that ordinance has been adopted, we have also incorporated that required wetland buffer and addition that wetland setback with 0 wetland impacts. There are areas on the site plan where wetland impacts could have occurred to generate additional lots. Those were not impacted and reserved for that specific reason. To that end, there's no grand trees that are being proposed to be removed from this site. And just wanted to really emphasize the future land use designation being supported with this request in the amount of time and effort and energy that went into that plan to appropriate development in the appropriate areas of the county.
One other thing, you've seen the traffic impact study. Judy alluded to it, but that was based on the original plan with more units and more commercial. And so we didn't run the numbers from the traffic impact analysis about this plan, but I mean, obviously with a 18 to 20, that's 18% reduction in residential units and the stripping out of about 34,000 square feet of potential commercial, those traffic impacts would be significantly less. And all of the intersections studied, which again, to remind everybody about traffic studies, the traffic engineer coordinates with staff to bring in all the known development around the area. And so staff typically directs the intersections to be studied. And having how those intersections studied, other than an accel decel lane off a brick chimney, all the roads will still operate at an acceptable level of service based on that traffic analysis. I know you've got quite a number of members of the public here that want to speak about this, but we'll be around to answer further questions or answer them now if you have them.
I had a question about the trees, and I appreciate you're not eliminating any of the grand trees, but it looked like there were 33 total, so at 12 grand, which means there's 21 left, and it looked to me like there were 11 that you would plan to remove. And I understand the trees, that a tree that's in the road or a tree that's in a detention pond, but there were quite a few that are in lots, and I don't understand why those trees are marked for removal or planned to be removed, because they look entirely avoidable. You know, we have neighborhoods throughout the county where people have leave trees, and they're, you know, on the side of the lot, the back of the lot, near the front. I mean, they're not. I'm not sure. I don't understand why. Maybe you can help me understand why so many would need to be removed.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Armstrong. To that point, we protected everything we could in order to get the stormwater and the drainage to work correctly. The tree, for instance, lot 125, the location of that tree was able to remain, but in order to get the grading and the draining plans to work, that was studied heavily, and the trees we could make work, those were prioritized. Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, I'm like, you know, like lot 1 looks like 170. These 177. There's lot 160. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why? I wish I could. I don't. Some of these.
168.
Is it 160? Yeah, 168. I mean, I don't.
177.
You're saying that you can't do drainage because of a big tree on the lot?
And the stormwater in order to get the grading and the drainage to work correctly, the sheet flow of the water to the conveyances, the trees that were prioritized to be saved, we review those. And on lots 125, you can see we're retaining the trees all around the stormwater ponds. We really took a really close look at the site. If you saw the numbers and the DBH that was presented by staff, this is a fairly heavily wooded site. So it did take some maneuvering to be able to work around that in terms of inches.
So will it be clear cut? I mean, are you going to leave some trees, or I don't?
All the protected and specimen trees, as stated in the staff report, will remain. Yes, ma'am. There's also
That's
buffers.
not very many, though, right? I mean, that's not very many trees.
Yes, ma'am. This was a timber tract a while ago, so there are some nice trees out there. We have worked and prioritized to keep those. We've also included a 25-foot undisturbed buffer along the roadways of the site and along the rail line as well. So we are working within the confines and the constraints of the site to be neighbors and to provide those buffers that typically would not be required.
Any other questions? Ms. Andrew?
Are you going to have to bring in fill to do this, or is that pretty level?
Ms. Amby, to be honest with you, that's a design and engineering question. We are not to that point. There will be some elevation and some grading to get the stormwater system to work. To what extent that's going to be, it would have to be, designed, permitted, engineered at that level. We are not at that point just yet.
Okay, so would you describe this as being similar to the Toll Brothers project on the corner of Martin Luther King and Parkersville?
I'm not sure how to respond to that. I mean, that project is a single-family home project. It's about 30 houses on one cul-de-sac. That's the project you're talking about? And they're building pretty much the same house over and over again? Is that the one you're speaking of? I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm not sure about soil conditions here compared to there. I'm not sure about what their stormwater design would look like compared to here.
Well, the reason that I asked that question is that that particular site that I'm talking about had a lot of trees on it that were supposed to be left. But then, of course, when we started building, we had to take them out because this and that and the other thing. So
I think unlike that site, this site was an active timber site. This was mostly pine trees and farmed as pine trees and in a normal forestry plan. And so the hardwoods that were there are still there. And again, as Mr. Suggs indicated, they're trying their best to save them to make it drain. But most of these were loblolly pines.
Mhm.
That's what was on the site
Okay.
compared to the other site that you're speaking of.
So are the trees that are being saved pine trees, or are they
Hardwoods.
hardwood
They're
trees?
hardwoods.
Okay, so is there a way to require that if you're going to have to bring in fill, that you still have to save the tree and put I think they call it a well around it?
There's a
So-
tree protection plan with a well and all those things. Yes, ma'am. That would absolutely happen.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Any other questions? Mr. Yes.
I understand that it's pretty near impossible in most developments to leave trees. Unfortunately, God didn't put trees on the ground where man wants them, and they're oftentimes in the way, and I understand that. And if they're so many times, if you try to leave a tree, by the time the development is finished, the roots are so destroyed until the tree dies. I tried to get county council years ago with the tree ordinance to require that developers plant trees after the development in order that trees are where landowners would want them. If you ride down the streets of Georgetown, Charleston, McClellanville, you'll see large oak trees on the sides of the roads. People didn't go looking for looking for oak trees to build roads beside. Somebody planted these trees. And I hope that one day county council does something about that and requires trees be planted where people would want them instead of left where people may not want them. But I do understand that, and I'm sorry, that's not a question.
Any other question for the applicant? Any other question for staff?
I
Okay.
might add, Mr. Hills, if I could interrupt, we do have a tree canopy requirement that Judy referenced in the staff report. That can be met with the trees in that buffer area, and maybe not necessarily protected trees, but to provide some tree canopy. And I believe we do have a provision that if they can't get to that threshold, they can plant some additional trees. So there may be some leeway there once we get the exact numbers and calculations in.
I would like to see all streets lined with trees. I'd like to see a tree planted on every property line at the road, so it belongs to both owners, and neither one of them can cut it. But you can't get, county council hadn't been receptive to that, but I think it's a doggone good idea myself.
All right. Ms. Katrina, any public?
We have a Joy Johnson, excuse me. Sorry about that.
They'll think 224 houses is quite a bit versus 272, but my name is Joy Johnson, and I live on Gapway Road. I grew up on Brick Chimney, and my parents, Dale and Luann, have lived in their home for 53 years. And on this proposed development, they're the little piece where there's a pond on each side, and their backyard will be filled with houses behind them. Now, who would want to live in this dramatic change after the way they've lived all these years? Not to mention, right now, when it rains, they get they get water in their yard from a big rain. So what's going to happen when floods come and storms come with these ponds on both sides and this big neighborhood behind them? Let's just get real just a moment, please. We will need expansions and we're going to need improvements. We already have overcrowded schools. It makes it difficult for our students to learn, and it's very difficult on the parents and the teachers. Last year, my third grade niece was in school with a substitute teacher the entire year. My first grade niece had 23 students in one class, and this is all from McDonald Elementary. We need expansion. We already have traffic congestion that is already a problem on our stressed roadways in all of Georgetown. We need expansion. Right now, what happens with the EMS, the fire, and the police? Can they keep up with this? Our medical field certainly cannot. So we're at the point where doctors have appointments for months out at a time. If the plea is to bring the retirement folks into this area, who's going to be providing the medical care they need? We need expansion. We already have countless drainage issues in this county. We're going to eventually need drainage upgrades. And to handle the increased runoff and flooding from these rooftops and these new roads, this development is going to need to have this. And who's going to end up paying for this? We will. The taxpayers will end up paying for this in the future. The claim that this is affordable housing is simply not grounded. Buyers would still not earn enough money to afford these homes. As I understand, the average income in Georgetown County is $68,000. This gap does not serve our workforce, our young families, and our existing residents. With the closures of the steel mill and the paper mill, we have a loss of stable jobs. I'm not against growth, and I am for proposal of a good growth, a strong growth that's not radical. This is reckless expansion, and it will worsen the problems this town is already struggling with. It's on the razor's edge of high density, and it's not suited for this community. Georgetown's county very own, your own comprehensive plan says it's managed your growth responsibly and to not override established land use. I beg you to please honor this. I understand that right now we have over 2,000 homes that have been approved, but are they approved yet? They haven't even been built. Can we just please freeze this to see what's going to happen with the future growth? And I asked Mr. Suggs and Mr. Stacy, how is this development going to help us? Is it going to harm our community or help us? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Daniel Venters.
That's a tough act to follow there. She's about covered everything that I was talking about. But I turned into the council here. Everybody I got a petition from, a sign that said they didn't want this in their neighborhood. The roads are bad, overcrowded. The drainage, as she spoke of, is poor. We got Cannon Branch right there. That's the only branch that go into the river. So all the water got to either go by my house or on Gateway Road, which is catching a lot of water there. Says something about preservation of agriculture. We ain't doing that. They're cutting down all the trees. They can clear cut that area. That's the fact. Infrastructure, I mean, you know, it's crazy what they want. The environmental impact is going to be tremendous. All your wildlife, people out here acting like they don't care about the wildlife. Well, the wildlife has been a part of Georgetown County for many centuries. When you clear cut all that, there goes your wildlife. The quality of life, it's going downhill with there. And the water drainage, the traffic on Brick Chimney Road and Gateway Road, they can say they've done a traffic study, but I live on Brick Chimney Road. I know how bad it is in the morning getting on 521. It's crazy. And they say it ain't no problem. They say they reduced the housing from 173 to 273 to 224. But the lot sizes are still exactly the same, 1.183 of an acre. That's crazy. The people has 20 feet in the front, 10 foot in the back, 5-foot easements, and the size of the house, the most it could ever be, would be 5,208 square feet. This is, I mean, I just don't see how they would say this is gonna be a good thing for our community. Out of all the people I got signed, every one of them, which y'all have a copy of everything I got signed, and everybody's on the same page. They don't want this in their area because it can bring down our area. They say low-income housing, but it ain't gonna be a government-loaned housing. But they could not give us a price for what they expect for the housing to be. This community can't afford no more housing like this. It could be turned into government housing with low-income people, and then we're gonna have to start the problem with the crime in this area. The police department is doing, our sheriff department doing everything they can, but it's not gonna be enough with what they're talking about doing with us. And it's crazy. We all oppose it.
Thank you, sir.
Jennifer Baker?
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Jennifer Ashley Baker. My husband and I own the land beside this proposed development. I was blessed enough to actually be raised on this land and taught how to be a good steward to the wildlife and the land itself through not just Cleve McClary, my great uncle, but his sisters. I find it hard to believe that we can have such strict regulations on hunting limits, designed hunting seasons, and rules to protect animal populations, while at the same time we continue to develop the habitats that these animals depend on. What's the point of protecting these wildlife if we're just going to take away their homes? When forests, fields, wetlands, and other natural areas are cleared for subdivisions, roads, and commercial buildings and other developments, the wildlife doesn't disappear. They're pushed out. They're forced to find food, shelter, water, and places to reproduce in other places. And when the habitat disappears, there becomes a conflict between the wildlife and people. Animals move closer to neighborhoods and cross over busy roads and yards. Development can disrupt ecosystems in many ways. Roads and neighborhoods separate what remains of barrier and becomes a barrier to prevent wildlife safely getting between feeding, nesting, and breeding areas. Construction increases pollution, stormwater, and runoff, erosion, and noise, and it changes the landscape. We need to ask ourselves, how much is too much for development? I'm not arguing it against development altogether because it's coming, but we need to think about how we can develop in a responsible way. We've got to protect these wildlife and grow in a way that is sustainable. Slowing down doesn't mean stopping growth. It means taking time to make sure growth doesn't come at the expense of land, water, wildlife, and natural resources that we can never replace. Because once this is done, you can't go back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elise Mueller?
Good evening, members of the Planning Department, neighbors, and friends. My name's Elise Mueller, and I live at 673 Brick Chimney Road. I'm here tonight to voice my strong opposition to the proposal to rezone and develop the property on Brick Chimney Road. Our Brick Chimney community's identity is rooted in its agricultural heritage. The conversion of this prime land into a medium, high-density development is an irreversible loss. This proposal isn't just a minor change, it's a radical departure from the existing rural nature of our neighborhood. It directly contradicts the county's own comprehensive plan, which promises to manage growth responsibly rather than overriding established land use patterns. I'm a recent transplant to Georgetown. I looked for a year and a half before I bought my home. I looked carefully at the developments in the rural areas just outside the city's borders. They're thoughtful and designed to fit with the surrounding land. I'd point to the original McCleary development off of Brick Chimney Road, the townhouses on Antoine Maybank Drive, and the new homes off of McDonald Road. I felt comfortable that the city and county councils were making sure new development was responsible and respectful to existing communities. I was careful because I moved from a coastal town that let development move in the wrong direction. When an unprofitable Georgia Pacific paper mill in the small town of Bellingham, Washington, closed, the city brought in developers who transformed the waterfront site into residential, commercial, and public spaces. It's beautiful. And folks from California, Seattle, and beyond came for the reasonably priced homes and building sites. High-density housing was woven into almost all neighborhoods to accommodate a population that almost doubled in roughly 25 years. Property values exploded, and as a result, so did property taxes. Every homeowner faced staggering property tax increases needed to provide necessary infrastructure, schools, fire and police stations, hospitals, and other public services. Sadly, wages did not even come close to keeping up with skyrocketing housing costs, and many retired folks and folks on working wages were taxed out of their homes. Perhaps the most heartbreaking result was the fracture of existing neighborhood communities. Building medium and high-density housing and rapidly increasing the population in rural and semi-rural areas toward the fabric of the community, and many once tightly knit communities, similar to Brick Chimney, didn't survive. They slowly unraveled as the insatiable need for more homes went unchecked. I respectfully ask this planning department to uphold the current agricultural zoning and reject the rezoning application for Brick Chimney Road. Please honor the intent of the comprehensive plan and develop responsibly with consideration and compassion for the current communities that make Georgetown such a wonderful place to live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney?
Joe Henneman? Heineman, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Heineman. I live at 592 Gateway Road. And the property, this 84 acres connects to most of my property on the backside, and also a driveway to the property from the Gateway Road. We all are here tonight to discuss the rezoning of 84 acres from forest and agriculture and limited industrial to flexible design district. In reality, this is not a rezoning, but a marketing strategy to enhance the market value of the 84 acres. The FDD zoning with the 242 homes will dramatically boost the sales price for Mr. Suggs' client with no regard to the community or environmental concerns. The drainage on my 20 acres and surrounding area is terrible. We have about 2 to 3 inches of topsoil. The next is 6 to 8 feet of gumbo clay. The water table goes nowhere. Once the topsoil is saturated, we start to flood. Any nearby land elevation will make the flooding worse. Everyone in the community here knows the negative impact this development will have on the community and Brick Chimney Road. Brick Chimney Road is already at its max, and with the new extension over to Highway 51, it is now the new bypass around Georgetown, especially in the trucking industry. Our school capacities are maxed out, law enforcement is stretched to the limit, The local power companies tell us that they cannot supply the demand for power now. They are having to buy power off the grid at ridiculous prices to meet the demand. We see it every month as peak time on every monthly bill. In conclusion, I can tell you that I am opposed to the rezoning with the 242 home sites. So do we make a few people rich or do we listen to the community? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chris Poston?
I'm Chris Poston. Most of these people know me. I've lived here since I was 2. I live at 199 Bear Loop. Around our area, to get drainage, we dig ponds. I have 4 around my house. Right now, when I called the county with a drainage problem, their exact words was, "We don't dig private ditches." When Ray Funny was in charge, they dug that ditch 20 years ago. My house didn't flood. The last 100-year flood we had, I had 4 foot of water in my yard. Now, this water comes from Gateway Road. It comes from the ditch on the main road. It comes from McCleary property. So my house drains this property. There's only one way for this place, well, there's 2 ways. Behind my house or up the road where the 2 ponds that go through the Garrison Road where I live, which has not been dug out in 40 years. When you call the county about it, when you call the state about it, nobody wants to talk about it. So my problem with this is we need to do some maintenance before we allow the water, because right now you got 100% water absorption because there's nothing there. Trees soak it up. When you start putting homes, asphalt, and the reason why I know this is because I'm in this construction. I'm in the Walk-A-Mall Neck every day. I see new houses go up every day. I see the problems they have. This is going to be a disaster for our community because we haven't kept up with the drainage. When I called the planning commission, she was very nice, very informative. But what she said was, well, we'll get to that once it's approved. I don't need a problem after it's approved because they're not going to do anything about it. They're going to raise the height of where they build their houses. I see it every day. I'm part of it. Maybe I'm part of the problem, but I have to make a living since the mill closed because I was a logger. Well, in one day, my business went under because the mill closed, because of fuel prices. So I had to close my business and take a job to do something else. So these people, I ain't saying they bad. I'm just saying they don't understand. If you don't do construction work, you can have all the engineers in the world. One thing I do know, because I grew up since I was 2, this whole place is clay base. There's no water absorption. That means downstream where I live, it's going to go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's the last one.
Okay. Dan?
Just a couple of points, Reverend Davis. Currently, this site is half zoned light industrial because of the rail spur. And so I understand the frustration about change. I do. And I know people don't like to talk about what could be there, but what could be there is a whole panoply of light industrial uses on most of this site. This is a downzoning from a zoning perspective of a lot of this site. With regard to the rural nature, I don't dispute the rural nature. I grew up on a farm myself, but this particular parcel is less than a mile from the city limits of Georgetown. This is not an incredibly out in the middle of nowhere tract, and the county saw fit to pave Brick Chimney Road. Water and sewer were installed in Brick Chimney Road. This planning commission and county council identified this particular area as an area of housing focus. And this project meets that plan that you said you wanted in this area. So I just only respectfully request, if the planning commission can't recommend approval of this, I think it's time to revisit all of your future land use maps so we can all actually understand what you really mean, because what you publish and what you say and what you've told us you want, it doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. And it's very confusing for the community. It's very confusing for the building community. It's very confusing for the residents. This project fits the box, checks all the boxes of what you said you wanted in this part of the county. And we respectfully request a recommendation of approval in reliance on the future land use map and the comprehensive plan and its housing focus. Mr. Suggs has a couple of technical comments, and then we'll be glad to sit down.
Yes, two things I'd like to touch on in terms of traffic. We did supply the traffic report. Again, that was based on the inclusion of the commercial and the increased residential. Brick Chimney was recently paved. You also have the exit on an arterial DOT highway with existing left turn lanes. This proposal is also including a right turn lane subject to DOT warrant. In terms of the stormwater, if there are existing conditions, if there are known issues, irregardless of the zoning on this site, whether it develops under the current zoning or develops under future zoning, we will be required to do a stormwater analysis and model all water coming to this site and leaving this site. So I just wanted to make that clear. There is a regulatory permit that is involved and is far more extensive in terms of review and requirements than what we are looking at here today.
Okay, thank you, sir. No, sir. I'm sorry. That period is over, sir. Just let me make a couple of comments. I've been on the planning commission for quite some time. I'm probably like 8, maybe 7 years. Well, going on my 8th year. Just about to be able to exit off this commission. And in those 8 years that I've been on this commission, and I think this is part of our on our agenda about plan development, you know, revisiting that. And we've been doing this for quite some time. And as I look at the applicants that come to us to ask us to do certain things, I don't totally disagree, because I understand everybody try to make a living. I do understand. But I also understand is one of the things we need to realize is we have to be very considerate of our neighbors. There are some undeveloped proposals that we requested that has not done anything yet. And the reason why I'm saying that, I don't know if this is something we just listening to and developers are not doing anything with these properties, but it just doesn't make any sense to me that all these houses that is being put up right now, that is proposed to be put up, it hadn't gotten up yet. So when we look at the population of this county, we have over 64,000, maybe 65,000 people in this county. Again, I think someone talked about the median income, which is $66,000, which is 11% below the median average in the United States. Unemployment in this county is 5.6%. Housing vacancy, 27.5%. And I understand we need housing, but I mean, we talk about housing, and I heard someone talk about affordable housing, and then the person went on to something else, but we have to start looking at affordable houses. And I don't see anything that developers are putting up that is going to be affordable for individuals. So eventually something has to happen with some of these vacant development that has come to this commission. And I know I'm not the final voice, but I do have an opinion. I do believe that, you know, listening to these proposals from developers, I believe sometimes we have to sit down with those individuals in those neighborhoods and speak with them. That I remember the Gapway Road project. I don't know what you're doing on that yet. I mean, it just seemed like it's just a turning our wheels on some of these projects. I just feel I need to say that. We've got to do something, and we got to make it affordable for everybody and make everybody feel comfortable right where they are. We got to make everybody comfortable right where they are. I just can't sit and not speak up on that. I'm not against developing, but you also have to listen to the individuals that are out there where we're going to put these development at. You have to listen to the neighbors. We have to listen to these people. Because they are affected by what we do. So that's my spell on it.
Can I ask Holly a question?
Ms. Hamby.
That 66,000 is that 66,000 figure, that is countywide, correct?
I think Ms. Ryan was the one that mentioned that. I can double check it, but yes, I would imagine that would be a countywide figure.
So what happens, the reason that that 66,000 is there in my mind is this, and if my mind is wrong, please tell me. But you've got Merle's Inlet and the Waccamaw Neck, Pawleys Island, and there are some very wealthy people that live in Pawleys. And then you've got the rural areas and the areas in the southern part of Georgetown. And those people don't have the money that the people up there do. But you average all the income together. So in other words, you've got, I'll just say, $1 million person over here and a $25,000 person over here, and you put them together and you average it, and then you stick this person over here with that very high average. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Well, it's not exactly an average, it's a median, but approaches the same thing. We certainly do have some higher income areas that would drag that number up somewhat. Unfortunately, county median income is how HUD works. It's how the programs work. I think it's probably how our land use element refers to, affordability. It just uses a county median number. But I understand what you're saying. I know that's always a concern of yours. A different census district might very well have a different AMI.
Mm-hmm.
Any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right.
We heard this a while back, and we did ask for a reduction, and we got a reduction. I mean, I think, it's hard, these are hard decisions because, nobody really wants to see development in their communities. I mean, it's really tough. But when we identified the areas like the potential housing special emphasis that we looked at, we want to put housing in areas that are near, existing infrastructure, access to jobs, commercial, retail. We made those decisions about where those areas are in Georgetown County, and we also, following what I said in my first motion for the evening, second motion for the evening, we've got, this is, under the future land use map, it's residential mixed use and employment. And so this rezoning is in compliance with the future land use maps, which is what we want, what we are asking them to do. And not only that, wetlands are our most valuable wildlife habitats. They provide the greatest wildlife habitat benefits. And I want to commend the applicant for not having any wetland impacts on this property whatsoever. I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing that the wetland ordinance was designed to protect. This is what we want applicants to do. We want them to protect the most sensitive and valuable land areas on properties and to avoid them. And so, I'm not happy with the number of the trees that are gonna, protected trees that are proposed to be removed. Seems like some of those could be actually, could be avoided and that they actually be amenities to people that would live there in the future. But I really, when we've got a rezoning that's that's gonna be in compliance with the land use element and also is, a reduction in doing what we said, I think what we said we wanted to see, and is in, an area where we've said this is an area, we have to have some housing somewhere. And to your point, Mr. Chair, I think what the staff recommends, and we could certainly even ask for more, is that any approval include a requirement that there be 20% affordable housing. I think we all agree, maybe that affordability metric, we don't really like the way it's calculated, but it's what we've got. So I wanted to add those comments.
Thank you, thank you. And I agree, again, I'm not against developing. What I'm saying is, I think we need to be more neighborly with the persons that comes to us that is in opposition to development in their community. I think there needs to be conversation. There has to be conversation. And I believe if there's legitimate conversation, I think some things can be worked out. I really believe that. If they come and sit and say, listen, I heard one gentleman that talked about, the gentleman here, talked about how the water rises in his yard or in his house. I mean, in fact, if that is true, I'm assuming, I know it's true, it has to be, because I don't think you would say that if it wasn't. But there has to be some discussion. Okay, now why is that happening? And if you want to build in that particular area, if you really want to build in that particular area, I think there needs to be a sit down with both parties and see how could we help you keep that water from exiting into your house. There has to be conversation. There has to be conversation, and I just can't just sit and just not say that, because I think if the door is open on both sides, communication is the best thing. We have to communicate. We have to communicate. We have to talk to each other. You got to love your neighbors as you do yourselves. You wouldn't want that possibly in your neighborhood. So you have to love your neighbors as you do yourself.
Question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Hill.
I've got a question about the traffic study. Did you take into consideration the development at Crown Point and how that is going to increase the traffic on Brick Chimney Road, and also the establishment of, or the designation of, Brick Chimney Road as the Georgetown bypass? What future traffic did you take into consideration?
So for full transparency, our firm did not prepare the traffic study. That was sub-consulted out. What I will tell you, the general standard for traffic studies, the traffic engineer communicates with SCDOT. The traffic engineer communicates with SCDOT on existing improvements, existing encroachment permits, background capture, and existing developments and proposed developments in the area. What I can tell you, as part of this proposal, we will be required to update that traffic study, being that the reduction was from 274 down to 224. We will 100%, I will 100% confirm that that is part of that. And if there are any modifications to that traffic study that do warrant additional improvements, we would 100% be bound by that as a requirement by this ordinance and the South Carolina Department of Transportation.
And generally, Mr. Rose, too,
do we get when you do the traffic study, do the planning commission get a copy of that traffic study?
Yes, sir. We'll submit it to Ms. Richardson. And also, generally, the traffic engineer reaches out to their office just to make sure they know of, or to Mr. Hill's questions, they know of what's theoretically pending, what has been approved. So they typically have input on which intersections and how many intersections need to be actually counted. And that they go actually count, not looking at a manual from 2008 or whatever that may be. It's current counts plus, and they don't count in the summertime and they don't forego school traffic. That is a part of the normal measuring process. So.
We typically send them traffic studies that have been prepared for other developments within the surrounding area.
All right then. Well, is there any other question? If not, well, we do have a motion on the floor, and I don't know, my tablet just went out. Tablet just went out. I need to make the motion. Thank you, sir.
Larry, the guy that has the patch over his eye. Yeah.
I'm sorry, bear with me for a second. Need the subs, yeah, I need the subs, I need the subs. I'm sorry, I apologize. Captain's went out. Subs, okay, thank you. Okay. All right. We gotta make a motion on the
I'd
on the
like to make
subs
a
property,
motion.
right?
I have a motion.
Yes.
In light of the fact that there are tens of thousands of acres of undeveloped timberland in Georgetown County that is for sale as we speak, I don't see a need to approve a subdivision that affects a community. And I therefore make a motion that we reject, deny.
A second.
We have a motion on the floor to deny applicant proposal. And the request is from Charles Suggs, am I correct?
Yes.
Agent for Patrick McClary?
Yes.
Okay, right, that's one we on, right.
Yes.
So the motion is to rezone one parcel totaling 84.23 acres from forest agriculture and limited industrial LI to flexible design development FDD. The parcel is located on the western side of Brick Chimney Road, approximately 678 feet of north of High Market Street in Georgetown. And Mr. Hill has already made a motion to deny that request. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this motion? Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Did we get a second for the motion, Mr. Chairman? You made a second.
Let me get a second.
Mr. Lennon made the
Oh, you
second.
seconded, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Hill, second by Mr. Lennon. And any other discussion now? There being none, those in favor of the motion to deny, please raise your right hand. Those in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Opposed. Okay. 6-4, six for denial and 1 for. Okay. Move right along.
Mr. Davis, this will also go to county council.
Everything goes back to county council. Okay. All right, we got one more on the agenda. Let's see, and I still can't pull my that one for Mr. Stacy again.
Flexible design, because Steve Goggins did it. And it, flexible design means do whatever
leave quietly.
you want to, and nobody can stop you. Yeah. Where's his arm? I did. It's a dirt driveway.
Okay, we got one other. Okay, next on the agenda is a request from Dan Stacy as agent for Elaine Thompson and Paul's Island Village LLC for a site plan with 18-lot single-family subdivision known as Saltair Walk. The property is located on the east side of Parkersville Road along Johanna Lane in Paul's Island. And who has
That would be me,
Miss-
sir.
That's all right, man.
Thank you. I do want to remind the planning commission that this is a site plan review for planning commission only. This is not a rezoning and will not go before county council. If the planning commission does not grant approval or conditional approval, the reason for such action must be stated in writing. These two tracts total 9.13 acres and are zoned general residential. The properties are currently undeveloped and partially wooded. There is an existing dry stormwater pond on parcel 1 that is used as drainage for the adjoining Polly's Village subdivision. The applicant proposes to develop the tract to create 18 single-family lots along an existing 30-foot private right-of-way known as Johanna Lane. This is off of Parkersville Road in Polly's Island. Parkersville Road is a 50-foot wide, state-owned and maintained right-of-way. An encroachment into Johanna Lane already exists. However, the applicant is proposing to widen this right-of-way to 50 feet to meet the county land development regulations. The applicant will be required to apply for new street names to be approved by Planning Commission. The setbacks for the GR zoned property is 25 for the front, 10 for the side, and 20 for the rear. The net density of the project is 4.93 units per acre. The single-family development has fewer than 5 units per acre, and it classifies this as medium density and falls within the density limits of the GR zoning district. A majority of the property is located in flood zone AE 12. However, a small portion of the front of the property is located in flood zone X. New structures will be required to comply with any flood ordinance regulations. No sidewalks or amenities are shown or planned for this development. All lots meet or exceed the minimum lot area and street frontage requirements for the GR zoning district. The tract is bordered by GR to the north, east, and west, and neighborhood commercial to the south. Buffers are not required for this development. A utility coordination committee meeting was held in early August with county departments and utilities serving the area, and there were no major issues discussed for the proposed project. The preliminary site plan contains 2 drainage ponds. One is an existing dry pond that serves Polly's Village located to the north. The developer is proposing to increase the size of this dry pond and to install a second wet pond located towards the southeast of the development. Georgetown County Stormwater has received these plans and has issued a letter of coordination. A traffic impact analysis was not warranted for this development because it would create less than 500 average daily trips. The developer has indicated that the protected trees on the site are located at the front of the project and that no grand trees will be removed. The site plan shows 5 grand trees to be saved. The developer is required to retain 55 trees or 547 inches of DBH on the site. A wetlands ordinance was approved by County Council back in June, requiring newly created subdivisions greater than 3 lots that will need to be, an application will need to be filled out for the wetlands. Any parcels adjacent to the wetlands must maintain a 25-foot wetland buffer in addition to the required setback. However, this subdivision falls under the exemptions as the subdivision was not under review, was under review and approved by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers before the effective date of the new wetlands ordinance. This plan indicates 0.40 acres of field over jurisdictional wetlands to allow for a road crossing. This entire site plan review that conditionally conforms to the current zoning designation for the property in question. If Planning Commission does not grant approval or conditional approval, the reasons for such actions shall be stated in writing. The property is zoned for single-family units of 6,000 square foot lots and meets the minimum lot requirements and setbacks for the GR district. The review by Planning Commission is limited to compliance with the land use regulations of the county, as the use has already been properly designated by the establishment of the zoning district. Conditional site plan approval for this subdivision should be contingent on final approval of the tree canopy calculations and final approvals from county, state, and federal agencies. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and the applicant is here. And you have to excuse my shaking. I am about to freeze.
I know what you mean.
Here.
Yeah.
It's cold.
I am. Any question for staff?
Yeah, I did,
Go ahead, Ms.
I just
Armstrong.
wanted to clarify on the page 1 that we received under item 6, it says that the largest lot proposed is 0.02 acres. I'm assuming that's 0.2 is a miss?
Yes.
Is that, okay?
Sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to, I mean, it didn't seem like that was possible, but I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And as I understand it, it's already zoned appropriately.
That's correct.
And that the current zoning allows 6,000 or more square foot lots. So we've met those requirements.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay.
Okay, Mrs. Stacy? Anyone else? A question? Go ahead, Ms. Hamby.
To staff, so there's water and sewer on this road?
The water, the Georgetown County Water and Sewer has reviewed the request and has determined that public water and sewer is available to the lot. So they'll have to do some extensions.
So, I went over there. It's basically a dirt driveway
Yes, ma'am.
currently.
Mhm.
So that'll be paved.
No, they are proposing gravel roads, but they are increasing the size from the current 30-foot right of way to the 50-foot, the required 50-foot right of way.
You have the 50-foot right of way, and there would be public water and sewer.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Anyone? Okay, Mr. Stacy?
Mr. Parks is here as well with Earthworks, who did this design, I believe, and Ms. Murray's here. She represents the landowner, Elaine Thompson, just in case you have any questions from landowner perspective. But as Judy's indicated and Ms. Armstrong asked the question, I mean, from a technical review standpoint, this site plan review does comply with all of your published guidelines as far as requirements. We think this should be a fairly administrative function, but if you have questions about the plan itself, Mr. Parks is the technical person who worked on it. I'd be glad to try to answer those for you.
Any questions for Mr. Stacy, Mr. Clark, anyone? Nope. Ms. Hamby?
Okay, so the owner is Ms. Thompson. Has a developer agreed to buy it, or?
Ma'am, the applicant, or there's two applicants, Ms. Thompson and another applicant, and those are our applicants.
Okay, so.
I just don't think that's appropriately before the planning commission about the business transactions of the clients involved.
Okay.
I can jump in and handle any of the technical stuff. You had asked the questions about the water and sewer. We've already coordinated with Georgetown Water and Sewer. And as far as the roads go, those roads will have to meet all fire truck turnaround, and we will have to have a fire hydrant on the other side of the crossing as well to meet code. Just so everybody knows, we're We're dotting our i's and crossing our t's. This is a standard subdivision. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. We do propose the current dry pond. We're looking at changing that to a wet pond just to get the appropriate volume and to meet all of the stormwater regulations of the county. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. All right, well, we have a motion. Any other questions from anyone?
You have public input?
Their public hearing.
Comment? We got some
Wait,
public
wait.
comment on this?
Hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
I lost my focus. Yeah,
Someone sign up?
we did have somebody sign in. I'm sorry.
Who signed up?
No. I lost.
Okay, what's your name, ma'am?
Oh,
Did
no.
you sign up?
Yeah,
Okay, can you come on up, give your name for the record, please? You got 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Small Campbell, and I am representing myself, my parents, and my brothers who were unable to attend, but we all share the same sentiments. I'm not 100% opposed to the development on that area. However, my parents live in that area. We're at the end of that dirt road that she was referring to, and my dad built the home over 53 years ago. So I am concerned, however, about how close these homes are going to be to my parents. I'm concerned about their peace, their safety, their well-being. And I did hear that the road is going to be widening. That's great because we do have issues already with getting EMS back there that we've had to utilize multiple times. So I appreciate dearly because they've had to be called several times. I am also concerned about the easement if Johanna Lane is the only access to these new homes that's going to be there, or is there going to be an access from Coachman Road or whichever area it's going to be? I'm concerned about that as well. Also, not only am I concerned obviously for my parents' home and property, but also I'm concerned about our community. And we have a lot of children there as it is with no sidewalks on Parkersville Road. So with the additional traffic that's going to be there, where are these kids going to be if there's no talk about sidewalks? That's pretty much what I wanted to share in a nutshell. I am also concerned about the change of the name. If I understood that correctly, they were going to change the name. Are you referring to changing it from Johanna Lane to something else? That's one of the things I wanted to share as well. For the new ones that are coming, I'm sure the new name would be fine, but for the existing ones, I'm not. It's a historical name. Did someone say that? Did I misunderstand that? No name change. Johanna Lane was still going to be, okay, thank you. I wanted to clarify that. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Sure. This is Johanna right here.
I think the name change would be for the new street. Johanna Lane would keep its name.
Public comment. That was Mr. Hughes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McCleary.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that signed up for this? That wasn't? You signed up?
Yes.
What's your name, sir? Come to the mic and give your name for the record.
My name is Craig Hockenberry. I live over off Coachman. So the new proposed wet pond is right behind my my residence. Now,
Could you speak up, please?
so I live on Coachman, and the new proposed wet pond is right behind my residence. That's pretty much my only concern, other than there's quite a bit of trees back there. I'd like to see them not like completely wiped out, kind of theme of the night, I guess. But I'd also like to not see a wet pond. Is there a way that we could do like just a larger dry pond? I don't know, just throwing ideas out there. about all I had. Mainly the site plan and everything kind of cleared up most of my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Adrian Miller.
I really don't have anything to add. I'm 225 Coachman. The wet pond's going to be right on the other side of my fence. I have some concern about that. My other concern is the trees. It's a huge nesting place, beautiful birds. If they can save as many of them as they can, because I know there's wetlands back there, but the wildlife is pretty beautiful back there. But I am concerned about the wet pond being right on my fence.
Anyone else, Mr. Attorney?
No one else.
Okay, Stacy, okay.
Okay, as far as the road name goes, we met with the development, or sorry, we had our coordination meeting. There were some discussions about keeping that name all the way through. That's what staff kind of wants to do. If 911 will allow us to do that, that's what we're going to do. Johanna Lane, as it is currently named, is not going to change. What may change if 911 requires it would be the extension going over the wetland crossing. So that is the only thing that might potentially change. The question as far as the wet versus dry pond, if it can remain dry, we will do that. Obviously, we have to do and have to meet all county and state requirements for stormwater. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not going to risk my license for any developer. I'm going to make sure I dot my i's and cross my t's. So if it has to go wet, then that's what it'll have to be to meet those ordinances. I understand a lot of people may not want that, but it's not like it's a giant pond either, and it's not like it's going to be an eyesore. It's not a safety issue either. We're talking about a 3-to-1 slope coming into a pond. Most of my clients actually prefer wet ponds because they want it to look better versus the dry. So it's interesting to hear that. And then as far as the access onto Coachman and some of the others, we're only coming off of Johanna Lane. We don't have access to the other pieces of this property, and doing so would facilitate more wetland crossings, and we don't want to do any more crossings than we absolutely have to.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So now, excuse me. We have a motion on the floor. Well, we need to vote on whether or not the site plan review of 18 lot single family subdivision known as Saltair Walk. And the property is located on the east side of Foxville Road alongside Johanna Lane and Pauley's Island. And this for a site plan review of 18 single family subdivision.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan as submitted.
Okay, we got a
Second.
motion by Ms. Newton
Second.
and it's second by Ms. Armstrong. Any other discussion on the motion? Those in favor of the motion, let me know by raising your right hand. Okay, motion carries. Site plan, this is only a site plan review.
You opposed?
Yes?
There was an opposition.
Oh, no, we voted for it.
No, I know, but I.
There was no one opposition? Ms. Hamby, I'm sorry.
And Mr.
I
Lennon.
wasn't paying attention. Two opposition. Okay. 3 opposed.
Wait.
No.
Two opposed.
Oh, I'm lost tonight, y'all. I'm sorry. 2 opposed. All right. Moving right along.
Let's move on.
All right, next on the agenda is discussion of the plan development revisions.
Yes, sir. I will do my best to be speedy as we have been here quite a while tonight. This discussion item relates to planned developments that we have in the county that have not seen any sort of construction at all since they were approved. These are older planned developments that have been around quite some time. So basically, we have given them a deadline. We did not receive feedback. No construction was performed. And so what we're looking for basically is a blessing from you to move forward with the rezoning of these parcels, either back to what they were zoned before or to their future land use map designation. The rezoning process still has to take place. We have to advertise it, notify the property owner, recommendation to county council, the whole shebang. But we're just looking for a blessing from you to start that rezoning process for those three that are on the screen.
Yeah, so we need a motion to go back to the original, plan.
Either that, right, to advertise to rezone, either to the original zoning or the future land use map.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Are you asking for a motion?
Motion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we recommend that staff proceed with these old dormant PDs and either move to rezone them to their former zoning or to be in, or at a minimum, to be in compliance with the future land use maps.
Okay, that motion by Ms. Armstrong,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Newton. Any other discussion on the motion? Those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand.
Thank you.
All right, that's unanimous. It's easy.
The first one was unanimous.
It was. All right, Unified Development Ordinance.
Yes, sir. Big announcement. We're going to have a public meeting on the UDO on August 31st. It will be at the Georgetown Library at 6 o'clock, from 6 to 8 p.m. The consultant will be there. They're going to do a brief presentation on the changes that we've been looking at and reviewing to the zoning ordinance and the land development regulations. They're going to hit some highlights, and then we're going to break into some small groups and have some discussions to get feedback and input on the presentation. We hope that you all can attend and help us spread the word about that. I know you probably haven't heard anything about it, but it doesn't mean work hasn't been happening. We've been reviewing drafts and talking text changes, so there'll be lots of good info to present. Of course, this will eventually end up in your lap for a recommendation to county council.
Okay,
August 31st.
all right. Street names?
Yes. We have two street names in the county, Lampshade Court, which is located in Pawleys Island, and Rustic Magnolia Trail, which is in the Big Dam Swamp area.
Okay, you need approval. Street name, Lampshade Court and Rustic Magnolia Trail. Those in favor of the street name, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay, thank you. Attendance report is in our packet. Minutes is up. You had the opportunity to look at the minutes. Those in favor of receiving the minutes as printed, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay, we have a majority, minutes, yep, minutes is accepted. Our status report is in our packet. The letter of credit report is also in our packet. And that is it. We need a motion to adjourn. We adjourned. Thank you very much. Your time.
Everybody.